Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, a poisonous gas leak at the Ice Arena lands dozens of people in hospital. An Adelaide family's claims of justice denied. Silenced in court, the rights of victims now under review. The touching memorial service for the young woman killed by a tree in the parklands. Tens of millions of dollars poured into recruiting early educators in a bid to better teach SA's preschoolers. And the Adelaide developed world-first test, giving the earliest ever detection of a leading cause of blindness.
This is Adelaide's 9 News with Will McDonald.
Good evening. Nearly 40 people have ended up in hospital due to a poisonous gas leak at the Ice Arena. Some began falling ill during a league hockey match last night. A public skating session also underway at the time, the danger forcing the centre to close today.
Emergency crews used to fire at a building filled with ice, breaking their way in, testing for dangerous gas.
Straight away, our atmospheric monitoring equipment did in fact go into alarm.
That alarm raised by high levels of carbon monoxide, lower levels of hydrogen cyanide too. The full hazmat response launched at the Theberton Ice Arena after 16 people turned up at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, where it was found they'd been poisoned by the gas.
Typically you get a headache, but you also might feel a little bit tired and a little bit dizzy and sometimes a bit nauseous.
The group all associated with the Melbourne Ice women's hockey team, which played the Adelaide Rush at the venue last night. They began feeling ill during the game, then rushed to the emergency in the middle of the night. At least another 7 people presented with symptoms this morning. By this afternoon, the total was 38, some requiring oxygen therapy to clear the poisonous gas from their blood. Fortunately, their exposure found to be mostly low level because the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning can be severe.
When it gets into your blood system, it attaches to the haemoglobin, it pushes off oxygen. So it means that it's not so easy for the body to carry oxygen around.
The suspected cause of the gas leak, a fault with the Ice Arena's Zamboni.
It looks like it may be the ice resurfacing machine at the moment. That's an internal combustion engine.
It's immediately out of service. We've got a backup machine as well, so that will be put into service.
Ice Hockey Australia says there's no formal requirement from the league for carbon monoxide detectors to be installed, but it's up to each individual arena to decide. Ice Hockey Australia today releasing a statement saying it was working towards ensuring games are only played in safe environments. Those affected by the leak are expected to make a full recovery. Gus McDonald, 9 News.
Shannon McDonald's at the Ice Arena tonight. Shannon, do we know when it will reopen?
Well, Will, the doors have remained closed here today and management have assured its patrons it will only open once it's safe to do so. The MFS spent several hours here working to ventilate the building after removing a machine thought to have been leaking the toxic gases. Now, crews were only able to conduct their final checks this afternoon and have assured that the gas levels have returned to normal and that the building is safe to re-enter, the entire process taking much longer than expected.
The ventilation process is likely to be going for a few hours. I'm hoping to be able to hand the building back over by around about 9 o'clock this morning, and by then it'll have a completely safe atmosphere.
Now, the venue has only been reopened again for 2 months after it was forced to close its doors after a dispute over unpaid bills. The old management transferring the business to new operators. The new management today telling me that they've installed 10 carbon monoxide alarms to prevent something like this happening again. And it's expected to be business as usual here from tomorrow when the doors open at 5:30 a.m.
All right, Shannon McDonald with the very latest. Thank you. A grieving mother whose son was hit and killed by a car says she's been deprived of the chance to tell the driver the harm that was done by their careless actions. The case went through the courts on a minor charge, meaning it wasn't mandatory that the victim's family have a say. And she says the resulting fine of just a few $100s feels like justice denied.
His bond and never-ending love and warmth for me I miss the most.
These are words Jan Edwards had hoped to read to a court, and to the driver whose car ran over her son Jason, killing him almost 2 years ago.
The knock on the door, or the bell on the door that night, is horrendous. And as soon as I walked to it, I saw the police lined outside, and I thought, oh no, your worst nightmare.
Jason was in a wheelchair, but not a man defined by his disability. He was on the footpath on the way to the local pub when the car came out of the driveway of the South Brighton service station. The driver admitted she was acting without due care, an aggravated offence because someone was hurt. But when it came time for Jason's family to deliver a victim impact statement to the court last week, the magistrate declined to hear it.
I'm cross, angry, upset, bewildered, don't understand. At the law, at the justice system.
In the higher courts, the system has safeguards to ensure victims get their say. In the magistrates' court, those same safeguards don't exist.
And despite my advocacy to make it mandatory to tell victims their rights, we've seen a reluctance by our parliament to enact such a law.
To Jan, it was important the driver and others hear how grave the consequences of inattentive driving can be.
She has no idea about how we feel. But in court that day, we've had to sit through how she has coped.
And then the penalty, a fine of just $350.
The Edwards family not only feels it was failed by the law, but it also wants the government to consider more severe penalties for even basic inattention at the wheel.
We need to emphasise that it is a privilege to drive on our roadway, and if you violate that privilege, then you will be punished.
A spokesperson for the Attorney General says the law around victims' rights in court is under review right now.
His death means nothing in the justice system, really. It means everything to all of us.
Samantha Hogan, 9 News.
The crash between a Mitsubishi Pajero and Morris Minor has seen the miner's 89-year-old driver airlifted to the hospital. It happened on the Sturt Highway at Cobdogla in the Riverland just after midday. The Pajero driver and his 2 passengers were not seriously hurt. Nearly 100 mourners have gathered in North Adelaide to pay tribute to the young woman killed in a freak tree fall accident. Many had known her for less than a year, but say her impression will be long-lasting.
Gathering in their grief to remember Olivia Seryo, a young woman full of life and adventure.
Olivia was a very loved person. She had a beautiful soul. She was like the biggest sister that I never had.
Within a year of moving to Adelaide from her home city of Jakarta, Olivia had become a popular student at Adelaide Uni, where she was studying a Masters in Media.
Olivia was a really good student. She was a very high achieving student, but apart from that, she was also a really keen swimmer, cyclist. She loved riding her bike, she loved running.
Running through the parklands is what the fit and healthy 22-year-old was doing on Wednesday when she stopped to rest under a gum tree, a large branch falling and killing her.
Everyone is shocked and everyone is heartbroken.
Tin Do often cycled with Olivia. He says she will continue to inspire him to always get out and do what he loves.
Given how sudden it was to, make the most of every day and sort of really take it in while you can, because you just never know what's around the corner.
Some of Olivia's family are right now in Indonesia preparing for her return home. They say although they can't be here today, they're appreciative of all the support they've received so far. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help repatriate her body, while multiple investigations into the management of the parkland's trees are underway. Kelly Hughes, 9 News.
A woman's been arrested over a fight that spilled from a home at Semaphore Park out onto the street. When police arrived in Plover Grove just before 10 last night, they found a 25-year-old man with a head wound from a broken bottle. The 34-year-old arrested woman also had cuts to her arm and was expected to be charged in hospital with assault. 16-year-old from Mile End has been charged over 9 break-ins and robberies, including this one on the cheesecake shop at Torrensville. Police say the crimes were committed throughout the northern and western suburbs across the past week. They came across the teenager as they investigated a similar string of robberies spanning Greenwith to Torrensville, but at this stage, the boy has not been charged with any of those. He'll face court tomorrow. More than $50 million will be spent to recruit early childhood educators in a bid to meet the promise to reintroduce preschool for South Australia's 3-year-olds. The state government not ruling out incentives to hire from interstate, but there are concerns the number of people needed to make the plan work is far too high.
The bold plan for a brighter future for South Australian kids.
The introduction of 3-year-old preschool will be the biggest structural change to South Australia's education system since the introduction of 4-year-old preschool many decades ago.
The state government today outlining its response to the recommendations of the Early Childhood Education Royal Commission handed down in August. The first priority, a major funding boost to get enough staff.
An immediate injection of $56 million towards a workforce fund to make sure we can do the things that we know we need to do to make what is in that Royal Commission document real.
All up, an extra 1,600 early childhood educators are needed. The Education Minister says the government is looking at different ways to attract early childhood educators to the state, including offering cash incentives.
To encourage them to go and do their very important role, but do it in a rural and regional part of the state where it is traditionally very hard to get staff.
All in an environment which has some childcare workers about to walk off the job in a dispute about how much they're paid. The opposition says the recruiting target is too ambitious.
It needs to increase our workforce from fewer than 2,000 at the moment to nearly 3,000. They're not going to do that by 2026.
Dylan Smith, 9 News.
A minor disruption on North Terrace from a burst water main outside Ayres House. Fortunately, traffic was at a minimum, the water flowing across the road and the footpath just after 2:30 this morning. It's your money, and tax is the talk of the town in Canberra. With the changes to Stage 3 tax cuts on the way in July, attention is turning to other options, like raising the GST or changing negative gearing and capital gains tax. Tonight, tax cuts are proving popular, but greater reform is proving far trickier.
Welcoming the Year of the Dragon.
It's just amazing. It's the finest collection in Australia.
The Prime Minister in Ballarat this Lunar New Year with Australia's oldest dragon. A symbol of prosperity for Australians, tax cuts will bring some financial fortune, but the reliance on taxing income remains high. Tonight, possible solutions are politically scary.
Raising the GST in the middle of a cost of living crisis is not something that a Liberal's going to support.
Changes to goods and services tax out for the Coalition, changes to housing taxes like negative gearing or capital gains out for Labor.
There's this focus, unfortunately, on what we're not proposing, when I would rather focus on what we are proposing because it will make a bit of a difference to the people who are facing these cost of living pressures.
A difference to the cost of living and a difference to the government's standing, with a new Redbridge poll showing a comfortable majority support the Stage 3 changes that give all taxpayers a tax cut.
I think what the poll says is that Australians are happy to bank the money, but they don't trust the bloke that gave it to them.
It didn't have any thought about what's in our country's best long-term interests of reforming tax.
If they don't like these tax cuts, why are they voting for them? And if they think we are wrong, why aren't they doing what Susan Lee did and say that they'll repeal them?
The opposition last week was tough inside of Parliament and rough outside. The fallout from this fall continuing.
I think the primary issue for us is Barnaby's welfare.
I don't like to see anyone in that state. You know, I find it a little bit disturbing.
I'll have a chat to Barnaby this week, and as you said, David Littleproud's spoken with Barnaby and is going to speak with him as well this week.
The former Deputy Prime Minister seemingly unfazed at a local charity event last night. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
But opposition leader Peter Dutton is already planning changes to the new workplace reforms. For more, here's political editor Charles Croucher again.
We are only 1 week into the parliamentary calendar for the year, but already election lines are being drawn up. Peter Dutton today confirming for the first time, if elected, the Coalition will seek to roll back the government's new workplace laws. That includes the right to disconnect provision, which allows employees to log off when they clock off. By siding with Business Now and promising new tax breaks for higher earners in the future, everyone at home is getting a sneak peek of the choices that will have to be made by voters at the next election.
In his first statement since his cancer diagnosis, King Charles has offered heartfelt thanks for the many messages of support. The statement reads, "Such kind thoughts are the greatest comfort and encouragement. It is equally heartening to hear how sharing my own diagnosis has helped promote public understanding and shine a light on the work of all those organisations which support cancer patients and their families across the UK and the wider world." Now for a look ahead to sport with Norris. Corey, the Aussies are gunning for another series win.
Yeah, they are. Well, they take on the West Indies tonight at Adelaide Oval and all eyes on a local speedster. Good evening tonight. More on that T20 clash, and our women have found some form too. Also, the Opals booked their ticket to Paris, but a legend won't be joining them. Why? Lauren Jackson has bowed out again. And the teenage track star that lit up Mile End, smashing a 36-year record.
All right, thanks, Corey. See you soon. Barnsley's back and raring to go. The recently recovered rock star reveals his next show. What's the message he sent to fans? Plus, we meet the Aussie chef with a recipe for success, how he landed 3 Michelin stars in his London restaurant. Details next. A community in regional Victoria has joined together for a special church service 1 week after Ballarat mother Samantha Murphy disappeared. Locals are holding out hope of her safe return. It comes as detectives continue examining hundreds of hours of CCTV handed in by residents. A popular water skiing event on the River Murray has been cancelled after the death of a competitor this morning. Emergency services from both New South Wales and Victoria were called to the course around 10 a.m, but Victorian man Luke Wentworth could not be saved.
These incidents are an absolute tragedy. They affect all of community, from emergency services to the bloke that owns a fish and chip shop.
The Southern 80 event is held annually near the border towns of Echuca and Moama. The Moama Water Sports Club said they would be providing support to his family and team members. High-profile Melbourne businessman Harold Mitchell has died after suffering complications following recent knee surgery. The 81-year-old advertising guru founded Australia's largest media and communications group, Mitchell and Partners. His career spanned more than 45 years, raising millions for health, education and arts projects through his foundation. He is survived by his 2 children. Rock legend Jimmy Barnes has revealed when he'll be back on stage after recovering from open heart surgery. The 67-year-old posting this video to Instagram saying he's feeling fighting fit and will perform at the Byron Bay Blues Fest in March.
Finally, I want to thank you all for your support. While I was ill, all your good wishes, it really helped me a hell of a lot. The family were passing on your messages all the time, and it lifted their spirits, and it really lifted my spirits. Thank you so much.
One of those who lifted Barnsley's spirits, recent cancer patient John Farnham, who joked the pair could perform together next time in hospital gowns. Well, an Aussie chef has just been named one of the best in the world. Brett Graham is the first Australian ever to get 3 Michelin stars for his London restaurant, the Ledbury.
It's the busy run-up to dinner service inside one of the world's top-rated restaurants.
Hey, buddy.
But chef patron Brett Graham has the calmness and confidence that come with decades of experience and extraordinary success. He's just been awarded a 3rd Michelin star at his Notting Hill restaurant, the Ledbury. It's the ultimate culinary accolade, and he's the first Australian ever to achieve the feat.
It makes me very proud of the restaurant, really. You know, it's a big team effort here, and head chef in the kitchen, Tom Spencerley, has been instrumental in making this happen as well. Jack Settle, front of house, has done a fantastic job.
The 44-year-old discovered his passion for food while growing up in Newcastle. The owner of local seafood restaurant Scratchley's recognised his talent when he was just a teenager.
I never thought I'd leave school early, but I did. I left school as early as I possibly could, but it wasn't because I didn't like school, just I wanted to work.
It's become a career that would take him around the world.
I was lucky enough to win the Josephine Pignolet Award in the Sydney Morning Herald, and so that's what gave me a flight to London.
He wouldn't look back. Now a bona fide star with a top 50 in the world establishment. The cuisine inspired by the British countryside. His specialty is game. His ingredients sourced locally, some from within the building.
Yeah, so this is the mushroom cabinet we were talking about before. It takes at least 2 weeks for them to get this stage where you can harvest them.
Every minor detail within these walls is considered and partly inspired by some of Brett's Australian heroes.
Neil Perry, I was just fascinated with rock poodle. More recent, I think Peter Gilmore is one of the most incredible chefs, not just in Australia but in the world.
Since opening nearly 19 years ago, the Ledbury has established itself as a Notting Hill institution. And despite Brett's ever-growing success, he has no plans to open up others, instead opting to focus his passion right here. Brett may sound more British than Australian these days, but he remains a proud Newcastle man. A yearly TAFE scholarship for rising Australian chefs named in his honour. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
The Adelaide Fringe kicks off in just 5 days. Chelsea Carey's at Rymel Park. Chelsea, it's looking ready to go where you are.
Yes, well, can you believe the Fringe is nearly upon us? And here at Gluttony, it's boasting its biggest program ever with more than 170 shows. One of them, these very talented guys here, the 64, they're going to give us a little taste of what we can expect.
How deep is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to learn. 'Cause we're living in a world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us be. We belong to you and me.
You guys are fantastic, and they are all Adelaide boys, so we absolutely love that. And good news, we have plenty of sun in store for the first weekend of the Fringe. I'll have everything you need to know a little later. Will?
They are very talented. Thanks very much, Chelsea. Police on the tail of a stolen van. Next in 9 News, watch as a brave cop makes a dangerous move, his car flipping over in the chaos. And the stage is set for Super Bowl 58, and there's one Aussie player on the verge of history. His story is next. Three-month-old baby is among 44 people reportedly killed by Israeli airstrikes ahead of the expected ground invasion in southern Gaza. Israel, meantime, has displayed a tunnel network beneath the United Nations headquarters in Gaza, claiming it belongs to Hamas fighters.
Sifting through what's left of one apartment block in Rafah, Fidel says he was looking for the bodies of his son and his family, including a baby, but could only find body parts. The deaths coming from Israeli bombings ahead of an anticipated ground incursion into the city where half of Gaza's 2.3 million population is sheltering. Further north in Gaza City, Israel's military showed foreign journalists the headquarters of UNRWA, the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency, saying it's unearthed tunnels used to assist Hamas.
This is the electricity room.
The IDF says power for part of the tunnel network came from here, as well as computer servers used by Hamas military intelligence and weapons. UNRWA, which has sacked staff accused of taking part in the October 7 massacre, says it has no knowledge of the underground facilities, but the findings merit an independent inquiry. Anger against the Netanyahu government was once again on display on Israel's streets. Demonstrators demanding fresh elections and a ceasefire to get hostages back. Brett McLeod, 9 News.
A police officer in the American state of Arkansas has successfully ended a high-speed pursuit but failed to keep his patrol car on 4 wheels.
I'm good.
2 men were arrested. Police found firearms and Molotov cocktails in that van. The best in Australian cinema and television has been celebrated at the big awards night on the Gold Coast. Margot Robbie and Bluey among those honoured at last night's actors.
A touch of Hollywood right here in Queensland.
It's award season, but this one is very special because it's Australian. This will be the only one serving boxed wine.
Comedy actress Rebel Wilson on hosting duties for the 13th ACTA Awards at the Gold Coast's Home of the Arts, roasting not only her home country, but the Sunshine State as well.
I love Queensland. It's like if Jetstar was a state. It's where all the best Married at First Sight participants are from.
Film star Kate Blanchett soon stealing the show in over-the-top ruffles and an oversized bow.
Middle-aged Barbie.
To present homegrown glamour, Margot Robbie with the Australian Academy's Trailblazer Prize.
Just about everything that ever happened to me in my life up until the age of 17 happened within about 15 minutes of here.
Before the Hollywood A-lister returned to the stage again, honoured with an international award for Best Lead Actress in Film for Barbie.
I would like to thank the fans here in Australia who dressed up in pink and embraced this film with all their hearts.
Other big wins of the night including a posthumous award for the late Cal Wilson.
She loved being part of and contributing to the Australian entertainment industry.
Talk to Me taking out Best Best Film, Colin from Accounts Best Narrative Comedy Series, and The Newsreader named Best Drama Series, while Bluey became the most awarded children's program in actor history.
This is a very big privilege for Bluey to be recognised like this, especially down the road from Brisbane, the home of Bluey.
And in true Aussie fashion, Tim Tams took centre stage, Harry Connick Jr. helping Rove McManus hand them out to the audience. Australia's star-studded answer to the Oscars set to return to the Gold Coast again for the next 2 years. Claire Todd-Hunter, 9 News.
South Australians given world-first access to a life-changing test. Up next, how it detects a serious eye condition before it's too late. Plus, everyday work perks now becoming more popular. The employers offering free lunch in a battle to keep their staff. South Australians are the first in the world to be given access to a new test to determine the risk of developing glaucoma. The eye condition often goes undiagnosed until symptoms become clear and, at its worst, can end in blindness.
People at risk of developing glaucoma are now looking at a clearer future.
This has been a game changer.
The disease has plagued Margie Hutton's entire family. When her dad Mel passed away at age 81, his sight was practically gone.
I had a testing for it to see if I had the gene. I did, and then my siblings all had testing for it. They all had the genes. It is really scary because sight is such a huge thing.
Glaucoma causes high pressure within the eye to damage the optic nerve, affecting peripheral vision. But a new world-first way to detect it much earlier is here.
The last couple of years has really been the heavy development of the test. If it's picked up early and treated, you can preserve vision.
The sight score test is simple and doesn't involve the eyes. A swab taken from both sides of the mouth, sent away to determine if the risk of developing the disease is low, intermediate or high.
So if someone has a high sight score result, it may mean an earlier referral to an eye specialist for potentially earlier intervention or care.
More than 300,000 Australians have glaucoma, but half are unaware, as symptoms don't appear until permanent damage has already occurred. It is more common in people with a family history, but it can happen to anyone, and there is no cure, so early detection and treatment is key.
We think that it's going to change the likelihood that people will lose vision.
The take-home test costs $349 and is available through ophthalmologists and optometrists.
So I do have children, and they will utilise this test definitely to prevent them from, perhaps missing all this.
April Cretan, 9 News.
Businesses are increasingly using work perks to attract staff. Employers are now turning to free food, free parking, even a herb garden to retain their staff. But new Seek data shows there's something workers want even more than a free lunch.
It's the busiest restaurant you've never heard of. Deep inside Crown Melbourne, every one of the 12,000 staff lines up for a free meal each shift right here at the place they call IDs. That's every car dealer, car parker, cleaner, waiter, security guard and office worker heading straight for a chef-made feed.
700 to 1,000 within an hour is something that we do every day.
Manager Velma keeps it orderly, but only when she needs to.
That looks pretty well piled up. Do you ever get ticked off for going too hard?
No. Chef de cuisine Kunal handles the food, and while the menu rotates, there is a clear favourite.
They love butter chicken.
Butter chicken. Can't go past the butter chicken.
How much of that stuff do you say you go through?
Almost a ton.
And all this is just one example of an economy-wide push into work perks. From lolly stations or free coffees, ANZ now has a wall of herbs and seedlings sitting in the lobby that staff can grab and take home. It can be almost anything. But one perk is clearly standing out to workers.
What we're seeing at the moment is the biggest emphasis is on flexibility.
Seek data shows flexibility is by far the top perk employees are looking for. 54% of job seekers say they are actively looking for flexible work locations. 38% say they want a 4-day week. And 38% are also after flexible hours. Free parking and company cars ranked high, along with early finishes on Friday and free meals.
Of course, any perk is a good thing, and with the jobs market remaining tight, employers are increasingly using anything they can to stand out to potential staff.
Perhaps without needing to offer more pay.
Almost 30% of people will say that they may take a pay cut if they could get some extra perks.
That's not part of the gamble here, we're told. Just the rarest thing of all, a free lunch. Chris Kohler, 9 News.
Right, Sin City's biggest showdown is less than 24 hours away, and Super Bowl 58 is expected to be a record-setting game. The San Francisco 49ers are taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. But the footballers certainly aren't the only stars in town. Taylor Swift making a much-anticipated show touchdown.
Las Vegas, it's showtime. Sin City rolling out the welcome mat and Allegiant Stadium rolling in the surface. Here, every blade of grass and every spray of paint is setting the stage for Super Bowl 58.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready. Straight from Kansas City.
Very confident. I think we've been the better team all year.
When the game kicks off, it will be with a ball handmade in Ohio.
All handcrafted. You can see Ashley back here sewing this football right now.
How rigorous is the inspection process of a Super Bowl ball?
Yeah, so that we'll measure those in 2 different directions. We weigh it, so it's pretty strenuous.
And one man looking to boot that ball is Australian Mitch Wisnowski. He's the Perth-born punt kicker for the 49ers.
We've never had an Australian play in and win a Super Bowl. If San Francisco gets the better of Kansas City, he would be the first.
And here it is, Allegiant Stadium, where the stage is set for Super Bowl 58. Tens of thousands of fans will be packing out these seats. It's a Sin City extravaganza for America's biggest sporting party. One superstar who isn't missing that party, Taylor Swift. Moments after finishing her show in Tokyo, the singer boarded her private jet, crossing 9 time zones and the international dateline before calling touchdown in the US.
I am most excited for the Chiefs to win and Taylor to run on the field and kiss Travis Kelce.
Are you ready for it? In Las Vegas, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Ready for it?
It's quite a sideshow over there, isn't it? All right, let's get to real sport now. Norris, Corey, our athletes are really heating up ahead of Paris.
Yeah, can you believe it, Will? 165 days to go, but some are already hitting their straps. Up next, gold for our divers at the World Championships and the teen track stars that have staked their claims for Paris. Also, the flying mullet has big plans too. Rowan Browning reveals his key to Olympic success, and Lauren Jackson bows out again. This time, it's for good.
Intuitive, capable, and above all, intelligent. The Ford Escape is fearlessly designed and makes every day effortless.
Hello again. Australia will be aiming to secure the T20 series against the West Indies tonight with the battle underway at Adelaide Oval. The visitors won the toss a short time ago and have sent Australia into bat first. South Australian speedster Spencer Johnson is playing his first international match on home soil. He replaces Sean Abbott, who has injured his shoulder. And it was a quick start for the Aussies. Dave Warner there blasting a 6 with his second ball. The Aussies are currently 1 for 15. Well, star spinner Alana King is confident her home ground knowledge of the Wacker will shine through when Australia's women switch into the Red Bull mode on Thursday. The Aussies have played 2 tests in the past 7 months compared to South Africa's 1 in 9 years.
Our group is experienced enough and there's been a lot of cricket played within the WBBL and the WNCL as well. So everyone's got enough experience. If they need more, they can, ask Moons or myself.
Last night, King finished with figures of 4 for 21 to clinch Australia the one-day series victory. Well, Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham are back in the game after a last-gasp winner against Brighton, and it could prove an important victory as Spurs fight for their spot inside the Premier League's top 4.
So often this Spurs team has been on the wrong end of late goals, but that wasn't to be against Brighton.
It's on. Johnson wraps it up.
Tottenham captain Heung-min Son providing the match-winning assist in his first game back from international duty.
He's a quality player, he's a world-class player, and before he went away he was probably one of the, if not the top striker in the league in terms of his goal involvement and his influence, so great to get him back.
Liverpool maintained its spot on top of the EPL ladder, beating Burnley 3-1. But pressure remains from Manchester City. The Sky Blues taking down relegation battlers Everton 2-0. In the Asian Cup final, Jordan always had a mountain to climb going up against the reigning champions. Qatar's Akram Afif, the star of the show, and proving a handy magician too.
And Akram Afif, always the trickster.
His hat-trick of penalties, securing back-to-back Asian Cups for his nation. And on home soil last night, red faces for Sydney striker Patrick Wood.
Because that You will never see that again.
His miss going viral for all the wrong reasons, some online even calling it the miss of the century. Trent Neese, 9 News.
Yeah, what a shocker. Well, the Opals go in search of Olympic gold without superstar Lauren Jackson. With the Aussies booking their ticket to Paris last night, today Jackson put an end to hopes of a fairy tale farewell.
At 42, Lauren Jackson has still got it.
Lauren Jackson will take the 3 and knock it down.
But the Aussie legend won't be on the plane to Paris, ruling herself out of a 5th Olympics after scoring 10 points against Germany to help the Opals secure qualification.
3 things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and the Opals in the Olympic Games.
Jackson will now join fellow Aussie great Luke Longley, watching the Olympics from the couch. The 3-time NBA champ confident the Boomers can turn things around after a disappointing World Cup.
If they get all the factors right, they get a bit of luck, things start to flow for them on the court, then there's no reason why they can't go chase better than a bronze.
Ben Simmons could help their cause in Paris.
Oh, look at this. Ben Simmons wide open.
He showed moments of brilliance in the Nets win over San Francisco, while Josh Giddey's wayward season continued.
Giddey misses on a 3.
The Aussie scored 11 points but made 3 from 14 attempts as the Thunder went down to Dallas. At the other end of the spectrum,
Bang! Steph Curry nails the three-pointer with 7/10 of a second remaining.
some Steph Curry heroics saw the Warriors home for a 1-point win over the Suns. Nat Unides, 9 News.
A trio of teenage track stars have also set their sights on Paris after stealing the limelight at the Adelaide Invitational. The most remarkable performance came from 17-year-old Cameron Myers, who smashed a 36-year-old meet record.
It was a record that had stood since 1988 and a field that included a Tokyo Olympian and the reigning 1500 national champion. But names meant little to Cameron Myers. With 450 to race, the 17-year-old not only took them on, but blew them away.
How quick is it? It's going to be very, very, very quick. That's really outstanding here.
His time of 3:34.55 smashing the meet record and just 1 second outside an Olympic qualifier, which he had already reached last year.
I just wanted to see sort of what shape I was in today, so yeah, pretty happy with that.
A similar story in the women's 1500. Timing her run to perfection, Claudia Hollingsworth took the lead on the final lap, then extended it.
I reckon she's going to take some time off her best. That is quite sensational.
The 18-year-old breaking the long-standing meet record by more than 2 seconds and less than 2 seconds off an Olympic qualifying time. Team time too in a thrilling end to the men's 800 metres.
Can we have another teenager, another 18-year-old, Preston and Craig? I think we will, yes we do.
His time of 1:45.41, less than a second off an Olympic qualifier.
I want to try and get on Paris, the Olympic team this year, so that's the goal for me.
While 19-year-old Tori Lewis asserted her authority as Australia's fastest woman, winning the 200.
Does she take Morley's record? Not quite.
Adelaide will host the all-important National Championships in April, which double as the official Olympic qualifying meet. Vicky Schwartz, 9 News.
OK, sticking with athletics, and when Rowan Browning burst onto the scene 3 years ago, Australia was in awe of his speed and his flowing locks. Now, as he mounts his campaign for Olympic glory, the 26-year-old is in the best form of his life and set on breaking the elusive 10-second barrier.
The athlete, formerly known as the Flying Mullet, embracing a new era.
I've deliberately grown out the sides. Fast forward 3 years from Tokyo and I've entered a more mature phase of my life, and I think I've left it behind.
It's more refined.
It's much more refined, it's much more professional.
And 5 months out from the Olympics, Rowan Browning means business.
I'm feeling optimistic and I'm just excited at the prospect of getting back out there.
The qualifying time for the 100-metre sprint in Paris is 10.00, but he's oh so close, clocking 10.02 at the National Championships in April last year.
Which I think was my best ever run.
And he knows he can go faster.
I just have to try to improve a couple of percent. It sounds so straightforward, and the reality is obviously it isn't.
In the COVID-delayed Tokyo Games, he made it to the semis.
Look in lane one, Browning out there fast. He's going to cross first.
Tokyo was a really special experience for me, like my first ever Olympics, but obviously the eeriness of the empty stadium is super weird. Paris will be, I just think, pure magic.
A full house, but once on the big stage, the 26-year-old will have to break that elusive 10-second barrier if he wants to make the final, with his own cheer squad trackside, his family and mates.
Needless to say, I better qualify or I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do, and a lot of people are going to be out of pocket a lot of money. So, yeah, I think it'll be really special to share those moments with them.
As for those luscious locks,
I think it's probably not particularly aerodynamic as is. And I'm certainly overdue for a haircut. It's on my radar.
Who knows, it might help shave off that 0.2 of a second. At Sydney Olympic Park, Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
And finally, more gold for Australia at the World Aquatics Championships. Dominic Bedgood and Madison Keeney, the latest to top the podium, taking out the mixed 3-metre springboard diving title.
Australia keep top spot.
The swimming program begins tonight, live on 9 and 9 now. It was really an Olympic feast tonight. We had diving, we had athletics, basketball, we had it all.
165 days to go to Paris. Looking forward to it, Corey.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Stay with us. It's set to be a hot one tomorrow. Chelsea Carey has the up-to-date forecast next.
Wake up and laugh with Adelaide's #1 breakfast show.
Rudits and Loz tomorrow on 104.7 Triple M.
For the latest Adelaide news and traffic.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Well, the Adelaide Fringe kicks off this Friday, and Gluttony here is going to be bigger and better than ever with more than 170 shows. So there's something for everyone, certainly great for families. Now, today it has been a warm one. We managed a top of 33.7 here in the city. Right now it's still sitting on 31 degrees. There was barely a cloud across Adelaide today, hottest in the northern suburbs, reaching 35 at Mawson Lakes and Elizabeth. The beach was a good spot to be, Glenelg topping at 29. Now, there were a few storms rumbling up through the far north, Oodnadatta picking up 15 millimetres, but elsewhere it's been mostly dry and sunny and hot, reaching 40 at Roxby Downs and Coober Pedy. It was a foggy start down around Mount Gambier and it didn't lift until around mid-morning, but plenty of sunshine across the south this afternoon. A bit of variance in the temperatures. Keith made 36, but fresher by the coast, Hindmarsh Island just at 23. Now, hot air will send the mercury soaring tomorrow, but thankfully not for long. A trough and a cold front will move in from the west, bringing cooler conditions by Tuesday. If you're off travelling interstate, well, a couple of showers expected around Brisbane tomorrow with a top of 29. 29 in Sydney too, but looking dry, and hot and sunny in Melbourne up to 35. Back home, and there is a chance of more showers in the far northeast, but for most it is looking like a hot and dry day. Many of our northern towns expecting temperatures in the 40s, 42 at Port Augusta, 41 at Renmark and Murray Bridge too. A bit of relief by the coast with 32 out of Victor Harbour and Kingscote. If you are heading out on the water, winds becoming west to southwesterly in the middle of the day, around 15 knots, seas below 1 metre. Across Adelaide, well, some real summer heat. Heading for 39 at Elizabeth, 38 at Mount Barker, 37 along the coast. In the city, warm tonight, staying above 18 degrees, and then tomorrow that sunny top of 38 degrees on the way. Then we'll feel the cooler air push in on Tuesday, staying dry but dropping the temperature back to a much more pleasant 27, 25 on Wednesday before conditions start to heat up again. It is looking like a warm and sunny start to the Fringe, so we've got 31 on Friday, 33 on Saturday, up to 35 on Sunday. Will.
Pretty good looking summer forecast, Chelsea. Thank you. Thanks for your company this weekend on Adelaide's 9 News. The team is back tomorrow night at 6. I'm Will McDonald. Have a great evening. Good night.